managing the finance is called financial management. Managing the fund, managing the money, managing the finance is called financial management. If you want to manage the fund, if you want to manage the money, what do you need first, Kanna? If you want to manage the fund or if you want to manage the money, what do you need first?
Money, sir.
First, you need money. Yeah, first we need fund, we need money. Then only we can manage the fund. So, I'm a businessman. I need money. After I got money only, I can be in the position to know how to manage the fund or how to manage the money. Okay? So, I want to manage the fund. First, I need money because I want to do business. Can you please tell me how to get the fund? Because I need money, I'm going to manage the fund. How to get the money?
Internal external source.
Internal or external source. Okay. Others you can text also, no problem. Either unmute and tell or you can text, depending upon your comfortness. Equity, yeah. Loan from bank, good. Yes, so no, good. So, I need money. I want to get the fund. I need a fund. How to get the fund? Either by way of, rightly you said, equity share capital. Yes, Naveen, you are correct. Or preference share capital, or long-term loan, or debenture, or combination of all, I can be the person to get the fund. Am I right? So I want to do the business. How to get the money? It's broadly classified into, it can be broadly classified into two types. One is called own fund, another one is called borrowed fund. Okay, own fund and borrowed fund. Now, what do you mean by own fund, Kanna? What and all will come under own fund? Girija,
Property.
what and all will come under own fund?
The property, jewelries.
Okay. Nivedika.
Investment.
Okay. Borrowed fund, what and all will come under the borrowed fund?
The loans.
Yes.
Loan from bank, equities, debentures.
Yeah, viewers, you can text also, no problem. Yeah. Loan from? Yeah, loan. Next, debenture. So, I said 4 category. Equity share capital, preference share capital, long-term loan, debenture. So, equity share, the shareholders' funds are called own fund. And loans, debentures will come under the borrowed fund. So, either by way of own fund or by way of borrowed fund, we are going to procure the fund. Then, after procuring the fund, what I have to do? Aishwarya, K. Aishwarya, tell me now. What I have to do with the fund? Yes, Pooja, correct. We have to, yes, invest. We have to what? Utilize the fund properly. So, first I need a fund. Thereafter, I have to invest the fund. First, I have to collect the fund. Thereafter, I have to invest the fund. Therefore, the entire financial management, we are going to do only 2 aspects. We are going to discuss only 2 aspects. The entire FM consists of what? Only 2 things. One is getting the fund and investing the fund. The getting the fund and investing the funds are called financial management. The getting the fund investments of funds are called basic aspects of financial management. Understood? Kindly note it down. Basic aspects of financial management. Basic aspects of financial management. Segregated into 2 parts. Basic aspects segregated into 2 parts. One is own fund, another one is called borrowed fund. Sorry, basic one is procurement of fund, another one is called the effective utilization of fund. Procurement of fund and the effective utilization of fund. Under procurement of fund, classified into two parts. One is own fund, another one is borrowed fund. Under own fund segregated into two parts, equity share capital, preference share capital. Borrowed fund segregated into two parts, long-term loans or debentures. Long-term loans and debentures. Are you comfortable? Okay. Now, listen here. We are in basic aspects of financial management. It's a frequently asked 5-mark question. Once the same question asked by way of alternative name is also equally important. Because of the alternate name, students not aware, they lost 5 marks. You know the answer. Question of the alternate name, you should not lose the 5 marks. Right or not? Okay? Any idea about alternate name for the question? Straightforward question is explain basic aspects of financial management, 5 marks. What could the alternate name? Any idea? It's a past exam question only. No idea?
Objectives.
No. Functions of financial management. Basic function or functions of financial management. Refer ICA material. Alternate name is also there. Either they are going to ask basic aspects of financial management or functions of financial management. Same answer only. Are you with me? Just because they are changing the name, you should not get the confusion. Many places similarly alternative names are there. You should be very careful with respect to alternative name. Okay? Because students know the answer. Just because they are not aware of the alternative name, they should not lose 5 marks. Now, we are in basic aspects. Up to procurement of fund over. Am I right? Any doubt up to procurement of fund? Now. Okay, sir, procurement of fund over. Before I am going to procure the fund, we have to analyze the characteristics of source of fund. Before you are going to procure the fund, you have to what? Analyze the characteristics. What are all the characters are there? Just like that, we can't the question to procure. Because what about the characteristics of equity share capital is not same for the preference share capital. What are all the characteristics of the preference share capital is not same for the long-term loan or debenture. Am I right? Each source of fund has its own different character. Therefore, we have to analyze the characteristics of source of fund before you are going to procure the fund. Clear? For example, Girija need fund for the purpose of purchasing house property. Already 2-3 properties she is having, but okay, Girija. She want to purchase one property. We have to pay the progress payment to the builder. Am I right? 1 crore worth of property. Okay, small budget for Girija. Okay, 1 crore worth of property she want to buy. Now, today is a cut-off date for paying 5 lakhs rupees. Okay, today is as per the schedule of payment, she has to pay 5 lakhs rupees. She is having 4 lakhs rupees. 1 lakh is a shortage. She will get the fund tomorrow, but today we have to settle the money. Right or not? Otherwise, penalty, other things will come. Therefore, Girija need money urgently. How much? Just 1 lakh rupees. 1 crore rupees property. 1 lakh is not a big amount. Right? But one particular point of time, immediately cash may not be there. Right? Next week it may come, tomorrow it may come, but as per the schedule, I have to pay. She has to pay today itself. Therefore, she is having 2 options. Either she can get the fund go to the bank and collect the loan, get the loan, or she can go to relative's place and get the money. Friends or relative, she can collect the money. Now, which one is the easiest option?
Collecting with from relatives.
From relatives and friends.
Collecting from relatives is the easy option. Why collecting from relatives is the easy option, Ganna?
Easy.
Easy. quickly can be the person to get. Am I right? Without any further difficulty, she can
The
get.
formalities.
No much formality. That is good. Yeah. Without any formalities, she can be the person to get the fund. Therefore, waiting time will be less. Immediately she can get the money. So, when compared to bank, here easily she can collect the money. Okay. It's an advantage or disadvantage collecting money from relatives. Advantage. But at the same time, whenever you are going to collect the fund from relatives, at the time of housewarming function, Graha Pravesham, they will come and sit. Okay. And they'll tell what? Because of me only the building she has purchased. Am I right or not? 1 lakham கொடுத்திருப்பான். Within 2 days she might have settled also. But in spite of what? Because of me only, the generation will சொல்லுவாங்க. Am I right? As if they only contributed the entire 1 crore rupee. Then they may ready to insult also. Chance இருக்கா இல்லையா? Am I right? Therefore, ஒரு positive or negative is there. Instead of that, she is going to get the loan. The negative, immediately she may not be the person to get. Processing time will be there. Interest will be there. But they may not be the person to what? Come and disturb our business activity. Another way, if you are going to see, next month, assume she has settled the 1 lakh rupee. Because of some issues in family, somebody is there in the hospital, she is not in the position to pay immediately. Relative means they can understand. Am I right? Okay, அடுத்த மாசம் வாங்கிக்கிறேன்னு சொல்ல முடியும். Bank, irrespective of your personal problem, irrespective of your financial position, you have to pay the interest, you have to settle the money. Am I right? Therefore, every source, if an individual's point of view, either from relative I can get the money, or I can collect the fund from what? Bank. But it has everyone, it has some character. Accordingly, we have to what? Get the money. Same manner. In the basic aspects of financial management, at the time of procurement of fund, we have to identify the characteristics of source of fund. Characteristics of equity share capital, character of the preference share capital, long-term loan debenture. Thereafter only you have to get the fund coming. Clear? Now we are going to discuss about characteristics of source of fund. It's also frequently asked 3 to 5 mark question. Note it down. Characteristics of source of fund. 3 to 5 mark question. With respect to characteristic, there are 3 characters are there. Characteristics of source of fund. There are 3 characters are there. Risk, cost, and control. Ganesan, don't sleep. Okay. Risk, cost, and control. 3 characters are there. Now we are going to discuss about risk, cost, and control. We are having own fund and a borrowed fund. First, we are going to discuss about the risk factor. Okay. Alan James, can you please tell me? Between own fund and a borrowed fund, which one is risk high? High risk goes to which fund? Between own fund and
borrowed fund would be the highest risk.
Borrowed fund will be the high risk. Why, Kanna?
Sir, sir,
borrowed fund. Yeah. Why?
Sir, if the person from whom we just borrowed wants the fund immediately, we have, sir, we might have to give it out as soon as we know.
Clap for Alin. Very good, Kanna. Clap on Matia. Jealousy people.
No, sir.
Now, listen here, Kanna. Borrowed fund, when compared to own fund, okay, borrowed fund risk will be high. Why is the risk for the borrowed fund is high? Risk with respect to repayment. Rightly has pointed out, repayment. Suppose I want to do the business. For that, I need money. So I want to get the fund to start the business. Our Nityasri is a multimillionaire. She is ready to give 1 crore rupees to me. Will you give Nityasri? Suppose she is investing, giving money, loan 1 crore rupees and borrowing and starting the business. Whenever I'm depending on others' money, always risk. Why? As long as the relation between myself and Nityashree is good, everything will go smoothly. If there is a small misunderstanding between borrower and giver, then I have to repay the entire fund. 1 crore I given, no, give back my money in Kepang. Then I have to repay. Otherwise, she can file the case also. If you want me to repay, whatever the 1 crore rupee I got, that money may not be there in my cash in hand. Am I right? I may have invested in land and building, plant and machinery for the purpose of doing the business. So I have to repay, I have to sell it off my land and building, plant and machinery for the purpose of repayment. So going concern me going to get affected. Clear? Therefore, if I am going to depend on others' fund, always risk will be high. Understood or not? Are you with me? Instead of that, if I'm going to get the fund, same 1 crore rupee by way of issuing equity shares. Okay? So if I'm going to get by way of share long range, then what will happen? As a company, I no need to repay immediately. When I have to repay, loan fund means whenever she need or at the time of what? At the time of what appointed time, as per the agreement, you have to settle. But in case of shares, if I'm going to collect the money from way of shares issue பண்ணி பணம் வாங்கியிருக்கேன் 1 crore rupee, then I no need to repay. Only at the time of winding up of the company, I have to repay. Am I right or not? Clear? Only at the time of closing down of the company, winding up of the company, I have to repay. Therefore, for my side, risk factor will be high. I have collected the fund by way of issuing shares. Then, based on that fund, I am running the business till the end of the company, till the death of the company. I can be the person to run the business happily. Are you with me? That is called the one risk factor, risk character. Totally, how many characters are there?
3 characters.
3 characters. Very good. Now, Pooja, can you please tell me what is the second character? All of you comfortable with respect to first one? Risk factor, Pooja. High risk goes to borrowed fund.
Borrowed.
Second one, yes. Second one is called cost. With respect to cost, Mahendra, can you please tell me? Between own fund and borrowed fund, which one is costly?
Sir, borrowed fund.
Borrowed fund. Why, Kanna?
Because it includes principal plus interest.
Include what?
Principal plus interest, sir. Borrowed fund plus interest. They have to pay interest, no, sir, regularly.
But in case of own fund?
Own fund only if there is profit only we will pay dividend for equity shareholders.
Okay. So what is Mahendra's opinion is, if I am borrowing the fund, I have to pay interest irrespective of whether I am having profit or not. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Whereas shareholders fund, only if I am having profit, I have to pay dividend to the shareholder. No, here cost represent what? Own fund means we have to pay dividend. We represent company. Okay. Borrowed fund means I have to pay interest. Therefore, payment of interest or payment of dividend is the cost of the company. Clear? Nobody is going to give the fund at free of cost. Something in return you have to pay. The something in return is called the consideration. That consideration here called one cost. Own fund means cost of the company is dividend. Borrowed fund means cost of the company is interest. Are you with me? Now, between two, own fund and borrowed fund, interest and dividend, which one is costly? That is what we are discussing. Mahendra told about what? Borrowed fund is costly. Okay? Then, Kadambari, what about your opinion? Which one is costly? Own fund or borrowed fund?
Borrowed fund, sir.
Borrowed fund one. Very good. Why? Same reason?
Same reason. Interest we have to pay like even if we are having loss, we should pay.
Ganeshan. Ganesh, what about you? Ganesh and Saravanan. Borrowed one. Okay. Priyadarshini. Janaki.
It is based on how much we receive. Like if profit is very more, dividend percent will be more. Then net own funds will incur a lot of cost. But like it is based on the profit, sir.
We're talking about the proportionate basis, it will come, am I right?
The interest is fixed. Anyways, you are going to incur, but net own funds is based on profits.
Okay, good. Gayatri, Kavita Gayatri. What about your answer? Interest
Borrowed funds, sir.
dividend will be vary every year. Okay, Naveen. Borrowed fund. Why canna?
Borrowed
Video on
funds.
running. Kindly switch on your video.
Sir, I have switched on my video, but there is some problem with my laptop camera.
Okay. Which one is what? Borrowed fund.
Borrowed funds, sir. Yes, sir. Same reason.
Sonu, what about you?
Sir, borrowed funds only.
Okay. Sonu means men. Okay, sorry, sir.
No.
I thought. Why borrowed funds, sir?
Because the rate of interest will be fixed there, sir. In case of dividend, it will not be fixed. It will vary.
Good. Now, so answer for the same. Everybody said borrowed fund is costly. Am I right? The answer is Nitya's opinion varies. Okay. The answer for the same. When compared to borrowed fund, own fund is costly. Own fund is high cost goes to own fund. Low cost goes to borrowed fund. Why, sir? The reason, even though as per Magendra's opinion, whether we are having profit or not, we have to pay interest. But dividend we have to pay only if there is a profit. That's okay. But payment of interest is fixed in nature. Am I right? Whether 1 lakh profit or 1 crore profit, I have to pay the same interest only. But with respect to dividend, like Priyadarshini said, depending upon the profit, amount of interest also going to vary. Suppose 10% dividend I am going to ready to pay. This year profit is 1 lakh. How much interest you have to pay? Yes, Arun. Opportunity cost is high on one fund. Good, Kana. 10% good. 1 lakh is the profit. Then how much of the dividend you have to pay?
10,000.
Yes, Jitendra, correct. Profit after tax also, the tax benefit also you have considered. Good. Yes. 10,000 you have to pay. So this year 1 lakh is the profit. 10% assume I'm going to pay dividend. 10,000 you have to pay. Next year, after pandemic, 1 crore profit. How much you have to pay?
10 lakhs.
10 lakhs. A huge cash outflow is there or not? Am I right? Therefore, dividend cost of dividend is higher when compared to cost of interest cost to the company. Own fund is costlier than borrowed fund. Another reason, Kanna, I am paying cash outflow is there. Company is paying, okay, either dividend or interest. If the company is going to pay, incur a cost as a dividend or interest. Yes, Kanna, your answer is correct. Jitendran, correct. If I am going to pay interest, the interest is a tax deductible expenses. Am I right? In the P&L account of the company, they can debit interest, cash outflow, interest portfolio. If I am going to debit, assume 100 lakh is the interest paid by the company, interest to the borrowed fund holders. 100 lakhs I am paying cash outflow, that will be debited in the P&L account. If I am going to debit, profit will come down. The profit is coming down to the extent of 100 lakhs mean tax also will come down. Am I right? Therefore,
Yes.
one hand cash outflow by way of interest payment. Another hand cash benefit, savings by tax, savings by way of tax. Am I right or not? A net effort, overall cost of the company will come down in case of borrowed fund. Only for the borrowed fund, tax benefit, tax shield is available. In case of own fund, even if I'm going to pay dividend is cash outflow, out of profit only I have to pay. Am I right? Payment of dividend is not a tax deductible expenses. You can't the portion to pocket the P&L account. That's selavu kadiyadu. Am I right? We can't the portion to debit as expenses. Therefore, first I have to pay tax on the entire profit. Thereafter, after payment of tax, profit after tax, I have to pay dividend. Are you with me or not? So, when compared to borrowed fund, own fund is costly. Dividend expectation of the shareholders are always higher than interest expectation of the loan holder. Dividend means there is no tax benefit, whereas interest means tax benefit is there. Because of that reason, high cost goes to own fund, low cost goes to borrowed fund. Are you comfortable? Good. Next one. The next one is, what are the next cost? I said 3 costs. First one,
Cost.
cost is about 3 characters. First one, cost.
Risk.
Second one, risk.
Risk.
Third one is called
Control.
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 High control goes to which fund? Okay. High control goes to which fund? Own fund and borrowed fund. Control company can everything from the company's point of view. Company can have the better control over own fund or borrowed fund.
Own
Own
fund.
funds.
Anu, what about your answer now? Priya is telling own fund. Nivi also own fund. Which one have the proper control? What about Kaushik? Aditya, fast.
Own funds.
Why own fund? What was the reason?
So in the profit only we can give the dividend.
Out of profit only we can give the dividend. Okay. I am talking about control. Company can have the control over which fund, own fund or borrowed fund. Either control is going to be.
No need to repay at the time. There is no constraint of repaying of funds. Only at the time of winding up or closing of or certain times only we need to give back.
That is with respect to risk. No? Already we have discussed about the risk. No? Repayment will come form part of risk factor. Okay. Cost, cash outflow is form part of cost factor. Risk over, cost over. Now I am talking about the third character, control. I am a company. Whether I can have the control over own fund holder or borrowed fund holder.
One funds, since there will be no requirement of giving any details about the allotment of funds. In case of loan funds, we have to give every sort of details about where we have invested.
No, not like that. You are saying ulta, it seems. Others? Any other answer?
Sir, borrowed fund, we can have full control, sir. Whereas
Those who are running live, kindly you can text also.
Sir, borrowed
What about
fund,
you?
we can have full control.
Borrowed fund, we can have control. Okay, why?
Whereas in because we the amount which we borrowed, we know there is no necessity for the company to give reasons for spending, sir. Whereas in equity or own fund, we have to state for which purpose we are using this fund. So we have more control in borrowed funds.
Okay, good. Rajastri. Harsh Kothari, good. Control will be more on borrowed fund. Why? With borrowed as fixed rate of interest. No, Kaushik. Interest will form part of the cost. Now, which one has the better control? Okay. With respect to control point of view, between own fund and borrowed fund, company can have the better control over own fund, better control over borrowed fund holder, not own fund holder. Okay. Company can have the better control on borrowed fund. Why based on borrowed fund? Because company is borrowing the fund. After getting the fund, I have borrowed 100 lakhs rupees from the Nityashree. Then whether I paid interest or that's one and only question. Am I right? Nitya, I paid interest. No, please get out. Don't disturb the business activity. So, borrowed fund holder not having any right to come and disturb the business affairs. Only thing, I have to pay interest properly. All of them. Whether I am doing business properly or not is none of your business. Interest kuduthiranliya, well, that's all. But in case of own fund holder, scenario is different. Each and everything, okay, each and everything, we have to intimate the shareholders. Am I right? You have to convene the meeting, you have to give the notice, okay, information pass panni avum. Okay, because shareholders are the owners of the company. Okay, owners only can be the person to control the company. Am I right or not? Moreover, shareholders are having voting rights. Therefore, they can only have the control over the company. Company cannot be able to control the shareholders. Understand logic or not? Therefore, company's point of view, which one has the better control? Borrowed fund holder. In borrowed fund, we can have the better control. So we have discussed characteristics of source of fund. It's a frequently asked question. 3 characters are there: risk, cost, and control. High risk goes to borrowed fund. High cost goes to own fund. And high control goes to what fund?
Borrowed fund.
Borrowed fund. Okay. High control goes to borrowed fund. Next. Shall we go to the next one? Okay. Good. Note பண்ணியாச்சா எல்லாரும்? Are you comfortable? Next. There are 2 basic aspects we have discussed. One is procurement of fund, another one is called one.
Effective
Effective utilization of funds.
With respect to effective
utilization of funds.
with respect to effective utilization, we have to use the fund properly and profitably. We have to use the fund proper and one profitable manner. Why properly and profitably also? Because procurement is itself involves some cost. Nobody is going to give the fund at a free of cost. Procurement is itself involves some cost. Therefore, we have to use the fund proper and profitable manner. Understood? Okay, sir. Because of that, whenever I'm going to test the fund, we have to do cost benefit analysis. How much the cost of procurement, how much the benefit out of procurement, the cost benefit analysis you have to do. If there is unutilized fund, if any excess fund, what I have to do? We have to invest in short-term deposits. Okay? Who has to take care of this fund properly? We have to use the fund properly and profitably. Procurement itself involves some cost. Nobody is going to give the fund at a free of cost. Okay, before I'm going to invest, cost benefit analysis I have to do. Clear? And excess fund, if any, short-term investment, whose responsibility are pathum?
CFO or finance manager.
Finance manager.
The duty of the finance manager, he has to take care of the fund properly. Understood? Then only it's going to be called the finance manager, otherwise it's going to be called finance damager. Are you with me? Clear? So this is with respect to one, procurement of fund and the effective utilization of fund. Then the next one is Prem Kumar. Can you please tell me what is the object behind doing the business? Premji. Yes. In the reason. To earn profit. Yes, good. So, ultimate object behind doing the business is one, to earn profit only. Am I right? Can you please tell me, earning profit alone is sufficient? That's not sufficient. Earning profit alone is sufficient or not? No.
No.
Clear? We have to earn goodwill also. Am I right or not? We have to earn goodwill also. Therefore, there are 2 objects are there. One is called profit maximization. Another one is called wealth maximization. What are they? Profit maximization and wealth maximization. 2 basic aspects of financial management. It's a frequently asked 5-mark question. Basic objectives of financial management. Objectives of financial management. One is profit maximization. Another one is wealth maximization. No, between profit maximization and wealth maximization, which one is more important, Kanna?
Wealth. Future.
What? Between profit and wealth, which one is more important? Profit or wealth?
Wealth, sir, wealth.
Wealth. Okay. So between profit maximization, wealth maximization, wealth maximization is more important than profit. Okay, Sriram? Wealth maximization is more, both are important. Okay, which one is more important? I'm asking. Okay. So wealth maximization is more important than profit maximization. Obam. Next. Shall we go to the next one? Profit is the short term in nature, whereas wealth is the long term in nature. Next. Shall I go to the next one? Next important question. Five major roles of CFO. Five major roles of CFO. Five major roles of CFO. First one, planning. Second one, source of fund. Planning, source of fund. Third one, working capital management. Working capital management. Next, capital budgeting decision. Capital budgeting decision. And last one, risk management. Risk management. Understood? இது மாதிரி சார்ட் மாதிரி எனக்கு போட்டுக்கும் ஒரு பொம்மை போடுற மாதிரி தெரியுதா விசிபிள் பிளானிங் சோர்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஃபண்ட் the two side hands, one is short term investment called working capital management, long term investment called risk capital budgeting. We are under the risk. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next. The frequently asked 5-mark question. Next question. Emerging issues which affect which affect the future role of CFO. Emerging issues which affect the future role of CFO. First one, globalization. This question also frequently asked question. Globalization. Then stakeholders management. Strategy. Transformation. Talent and capability. Technology. Regulation. Risk. And reporting. Understood? Can you please read one more time? Padambari.
So fifth point, I didn't get it. After transformation. Just,
Can you please read one more time? Others kindly check it up.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Priya.
Globalization, stakeholders management, strategy, transformation, talent and capability, technology, regulation, risk and reporting.
Totally how many issues?
9.
9 emerging issues. Okay. Mnemonic note paniko. GSTR. GST return. GSTR. G S square போட்டுக்கோ. T cube R cube. ஒரு G 2 S 3 T 3 R. Okay. Are you comfortable? So 9 emerging issues also frequently asked question coming. Next. Shall we go to the next one? So any doubt in basic aspects of financial management, basic concept? All are comfortable? Good response. Next. We can go for working capital management. Working capital management. Meaning, current asset minus current liability is equal to working capital. Current asset minus current liability is equal to working capital. Current asset இல்லையா? assets which are readily convertible into cash within a short duration, say less than a year, called current asset. அதான் தெரியும் இல்லையா? Current liability represents obligation for the repayment arises within a short duration, say less than a year, called current liability. Okay? An example for the current asset also: cash, stock, closing stock, stock in hand, debtors, bills receivable, prepaid expenses, short-term investments are called current assets. Current liabilities, sundry creditors, bank overdraft, outstanding expenses, these are all called one. Bills payable, these are all called current liability. அதான் தெரியலையா உங்களுக்கு? Now, classification of working capital. Classification of working capital. Segregate into two parts. Classification segregate into two parts. Based on concept and based on time. Concept based classification and time based classification. Under concept based classification, two types are there. One is gross working capital. Another one is net working capital. Gross working capital and net working capital. Okay. Based on time, two types are there. Permanent working capital and temporary working capital. நான் சார்ஜ்ல போடுறேன். சார்ஜ்ல சார்ஜ் போடுறேன். Okay. Under gross working capital, you can note it down. It represents current asset alone. Current asset alone is called gross working capital. Net working capital represents current asset minus current liability. Next, permanent working capital. It represents minimum amount of working capital required at minimum amount of working capital required at any given point of time. Minimum amount of working capital required at any given point of time is called permanent working capital. Temporary working, permanent working, alternative for permanent working capital, another name for permanent working capital, fixed working capital, or hardcore working capital. Fixed or hardcore working capital. Hardcore. Then temporary working capital. Over and above the permanent working capital. Over and above the permanent working capital are known as temporary working capital. It's also called variable working capital or fluctuating working capital, variable or fluctuating working capital. புரியுதா? Next, working capital cycle. It's a frequently asked question. Working capital cycle. Meaning, it represents time duration required for which conversion of cash into cash equivalent. Conversion of cash into cash equivalent. Thereafter back into cash. Thereafter back into cash. Time duration required for which conversion of cash into cash equivalent thereafter back into cash are known as what? What பண்ணா?
Working capital cycle.
Working
cycle.
capital cycle.
Working capital cycle. It's also called cash cycle, operating cycle, business cycle, budget cycle. Budget cycle. Okay. Next. Segments in working capital cycle. Segments in working capital cycle. First one, lead time, LEAD, lead time. Process or production cycle, lead time, process or production cycle. Stock holding period, and average collection period. Over. Next. Formula for operating cycle. Raw material plus WIP plus finished goods plus debtor minus creditor. minus creditor. Next. Formula for number of operating cycle in a year is equal to formula for number of operating cycle in a year is equal to 365 divided by operating cycle. 365 divided by operating cycle. Understood? Noted?
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Go to problem number 1. Kadambari, kindly read the question, Kanu.
So from the material you gave us, right?
Yeah, PDF.
So following information is forecasted by the CS Limited for the year ending 31st March 2010. Component balance as at 1st April 2009 and balance as at 31st March 2010 is given. Raw material 30,000 and 45,000. Work in progress 40,000, 51,300. Finished goods 90,000 and 80,000. Debtors 2 lakh and 1,50,000. Creditors 50,000 and 70,000. Annual purchases of raw material 80% credit is 6 lakh. Annual cost of production 8 lakh. Annual cost of goods sold 10 lakh. Annual operating cost is 12 lakh. Including depreciation is 12 lakh. Annual sales 70% credit is 16 lakh. Year is equal to 360 days. We are required to calculate net operating cycle period, number of operating cycles in the year, and amount of working capital requirement.
So list on first exam question. What is the requirement of the question? You have to compute working capital requirement. Am I right? Operating cycle also you have to compute.
Operating cycle and number of operating cycle in a year.
Noted on statement of computation of operating cycle. Underneath particular, first column particulars. Second column formula. Third column calculation. Next column turnover ratio. And last column days. I'll repeat once again. Shall I repeat once again, Pranav? Nithya paathala theriyum. First column particulars or component, particulars எழுதிக்கும். Second column formula. Next column calculation. Turnover ratio. And last column days.
Excuse me, sir. What is the last column, sir?
Days.
Days. Okay, thank you, sir.
Under the component column, raw material. So we have to compute raw material storage period, raw material. Formula, raw material consumption divided by average stock of raw material. Raw material consumption divided by average stock of raw material. Okay. Now, raw material consumption. How to compute raw material consumption?
Opening
Opening
minus
stock of, yes, yeah, good. Kanna. Opening stock of raw material plus purchase value of raw material and less closing stock of raw material is called raw material consumption. Opening stock plus purchase minus closing stock. Understood?
காஸ்டிங்ல அது மிஸ்ஸிங் கேஷ் ஃப்ளோ பண்ணிட்டோம் இப்போ நான் அப்ரூவ் பண்ணிட்டேன் அதை அவங்க கேட்கவே இல்லை எனக்கு ஒரு சாப்டர் மட்டும் மிஸ்ஸிங் எனக்கு அந்த ஆக்சஸ் எல்லாரும் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட்டேன்
So raw material consumption, how much Kanna? 5,85,000. Am I right? 5,85,000. Divided by average stock of raw material represent opening stock plus purchase minus closing. Sorry, opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2 is equal to average stock.
That is 7,500.
So find out 37,500 is the average stock. Therefore, turnover ratio comes to how much? Raw material consumption divided by average stock of raw material turnover ratio comes to
15.6.
15.6. 6 agana Nivedika. 15.6 times. Days you have to compute, am I right? With respect to days, 365 divided by turnover ratio. 365 divided by turnover ratio. Comes to
23.39 days.
23 days or 23.39 days. 1 year 360 or 365 என்ன கொடுத்துருக்காங்க questionல? If specific information
360.
360 days.
given in this question, yeah. If it is given in this question, you have to take only 360. Nothing is given mean you have to take only 365 alone. Okay. Many questions they'll give 1 year is equal to 360. கொடுத்தால் மட்டும் தான் 360 எடுக்கணும். If nothing is there, you have to take 365. Since in this problem specific information is there, you can take 360 divided by number of days. 360 divided by turnover ratio. Comes to
23 days.
24.
3.
got 23 days. Then next one, WIP, raw material over. Next we can go for WIP. Cost of production divided by average stock of WIP. Cost of production divided by average stock of WIP. Cost of production given in this question how much? 8 lakhs agana.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Average stock of WIP, opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. Comes to
45,650.
hmm. The answer is 17.52 of 17.52 times. Days comes to 20.55 or 21 days.
21.
21 of 12 control. No issue. Got it? Raw material over, WIP over. Next, you have to go for finished goods. Under finished goods formula, cost of goods sold by average stock of raw material.
Sure, sir.
Finished goods.
Cost of goods sold by average stock of raw material.
Sir, average stock of finished goods, sir.
Average stock of finished goods. Yes. Go on. What is the answer, Kanam?
31 days, sir.
12 days?
31 days.
31 days.
31 days. Good. Well, we got this answer. 31 days.
Yes, sir.
What next? Data Sagana.
Yes.
Sir.
Data. Credit sales by average data. Credit sales by average data. If no information with respect to cash sale, credit sale bifurcation means we have to assume all the sales made under credit only.
Sir, 56 days.
56 upon rounding off to 56 days. Got it, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, for creditors, credit purchased by average creditors.
$45 days, sir.
45. Check it up. That's right, 45 correct agana?
Yes, sir.
Good. So find out raw material plus WAP plus finished goods plus debtor minus creditor.
86.
Net comes to
86, sir.
86 days. Hmm. Over. All of you got 86 days?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Good. What are the next requirement? Requirement is not finished. What are the next requirement now? J. Rahan, what are the next requirement?
Number of working capital.
Number of cycles you have to compute. Formula for number of cycle is 360 divided by operating cycle. So 360 divided by 85 days is equal to
4 days.
4 cycle.
So we
Or
should do 365 or 360 by 86.
360. The question specifically given you have to take only 360 alone.
Okay, sir.
Nothing is there mean 1 year is equal to 365 days. Okay?
Okay, sir.
It's applicable for the entire financial manager, not only for this particular. Over. 4.5 agana? Yes. 4.2 or 4.5, anything is okay. Rounding off to 4. Got it? Good. Sundaresh, what are the next requirement now? Mr. Sonu, manageable?
Yes, sir, manageable.
Good. Amount of working capital requirement. Note it down. Statement of computation of required amount of working capital. Statement of computation of required amount of working capital. Underneath. Any annual operating cost is given in this question, Ganna?
Yes, sir.
Annual operating cost is equal to how much?
12 lakhs.
12 lakh.
12 lakhs. Less non-cash item depreciation. Balance is equal to annual cash operating cost. How much the annual cash operating cost?
11,50,000.
11,50,000. $11,50,000 is a 1 year cash requirement. Am I right? Okay. Whereas operating cycle, how many days you got it? 45 days already.
86.
86 days. So 360 days cash requirement is the 11,50,000. Therefore, 86 days.
2,74,722.
74,722.
Check it up. 2 lakh.
74,000.
Any difficulty?
No, sir.
All are comfortable? If you have any doubt, you can ask. 2,74,722. Good. Next, note it down. Estimation of working capital requirement. Estimation of working capital requirement. Estimation segregate into two parts. Estimation segregate into two parts. One is method 1. Another one is method 2. under method 1, by way of operating cycle, or another one, by way of estimation of each and every component of current asset and current liability. By way of operating cycle or by way of estimation of each and every component of current asset and current liability. Okay. Next, method 2, total approach or cash cost approach. Total approach or cash cost approach. Okay. So, first segment we have discussed about what? Operating cycle. Am I right? Any doubt in the operating cycle computation? All are comfortable?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Now, go to next question. Next question, Palama. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Want any break? Continue Palama. Do you want any break or we can continue? Already break. You continue, I'll switch off the video, I'll take break. Again, nice response. Prem Kumar, 10 minutes break. Already decided. Break, sir. Tony for also break. Just 5 minutes break. Quick relaxation. Okay? Relax.
Okay, sir.